Yo, what's going on, y'all? Today I'm coming at you with my own top 5 Jujutsu Kaisen fights. Now, sorry for my anime onlys, but these top 5, all of them are gonna be manga exclusive at the moment because manga's fire. If you ain't caught up with the manga, you might need to because it's nothing but pure gas right now. So, yeah. Starting off with number 5, we have the climax battle of the Shibuya arc with Yuji and Todo versus Mahito. In the beginning with Yuji and Mahito, the personal stakes between these two and their hatred for one another was nothing but escalated throughout this entire story, and especially in the Shibuya incident arc after 2 tragic deaths. One that enraged Yuji on the inside, but was still in control of his emotions on the outside, where the two remain even. And the other that sent Yuji into a mental downward spiral, considering whether or not he even wants to live anymore, and if everything up to this point was worthless. But luckily, our brother Todo arrived on the scene to once again inspire Yuji out of a depressed state for just enough time to fight Mahito, and a speech that only Todo alone could give. So that was a plus. A good traditional Yuji and Todo team up with Todo's claps and of course the great choreography in this hallway, and absolutely love Mahito in this fight just because of how damn good he is at adapting to the situation in front of him. Even though at this moment I very much hated Mahito because of what he did before this, but not only that, but the expansion of the fight layout with the 3 going out in the street, panels of Mahito throwing Todo into a glass office building, creating clones to hold him off for a certain amount of time. The development of both Yuji and Mahito in full display was great. Todo with the big brain plays, helping Yuji throughout the fight. And now my one flaw with this fight is Mahito's new form wasn't the best aesthetically, because I wish he kept his face the same and not the skin morphed over his face type design. But the fantastic spread of all 3 fighters going into the Black Flash mode was nice, and of course the moment of Yuji and Mahito with Yuji walking down on a hobble Mahito with a visual representation of a wolf being Yuji hunting down his prey being Mahito was absolutely beautiful. Number 4, we have what is kind of like this fight is pure insanity of what's going on. We have Maki, Nanami, Naobito versus Dagon with the inclusion of Megumi and Toki. This fight to me was pretty big, especially what happens after the Shibuya incident arc with those stakes that this fight had. We see Nabito's ability with the frame rate ability, or the frame ability, I forget what it's called, sorry. And then we have Nanami, him showing Nanami in this whole arc, his leadership once we see what happened in the beginning of the Shibuya incident arc was great to see. It really showed how much Nanami will step up, even if he's put in a spot to where he's like, okay, you only have to do this. If he sees that, okay, I'm the only one that can really help us go further, and if that means I have to help everybody else, I'm gonna do it, because that's what he thinks that he should have done. And I love seeing that. And then Maki even being in this fight is big for her, because if you're being honest, she was easily the weakest one out of this, but she still held her own with her cursed tools and the way she analyzed Dagon's water ability and how she adapted to the situation very quickly. That was great to see. And Dagon really shocked me because I didn't expect him to be this good, especially his cursed wound form. I thought that design was brilliant. The Cthulhu design was on point. I really liked it, especially in the color page that we see before they begin to fight. Loved it. And then Dagon's domain expansion was when we found out that his domain expansion was actually the beach that the villains are, that's like their hideout where they were sitting at. That was great, even though when we get into the attack part of Dagon's ability in his domain, oh my god, he pretty much was holding off Nabito, Nanami, and Maki, 2 of them which are grade A sorcerers, and one of them who was going to be, and he was kind of just doing it effortlessly. Because once he got Nobito in a situation where he forced him to, you have to fight me at a long distance versus short range battle, he took control of the entire field of situation. And that gave me a lot of respect for Dagon, because I didn't know he was going to be this strong. especially with his fish ability, the piranha ability. that he drug out and pretty much destroyed Nanami the most. That pretty much rendered Nanami like he was already halfway done after he took that blow. And then when we get to the end of the fight, we get Megumi showing up. He burst through Dagon's domain expansion, similar to how Yuji broke through Mahito's domain expansion in the fight back at the Junpei situation. He breaks in and he's having a tug of war with Dagon, and we see how strong Megumi's domain expansion is. The fact that he's even holding Dagon to a point to where they have to play tug of war, and Megumi's domain expansion isn't even complete. It's absolutely insane for his domain expansion potential that it really wants me to just see this domain at its full extent, and I can't wait to see that. And then Megumi even becoming more of a second leader and giving instructions to Nanami, Nobito, and Maki and what they should be doing, and I made a hole for us to escape. That was great for his character as well, for someone who really is kind of stoic and doesn't say much. And pretty much the climax of this, with Toji's interference and him single-handedly destroying Dagon with the playful cloud, and him sharpening the nunchucks into like little daggers. Wow, like that was insane. We see how really strong Toji is, the fact that he took down Dagon like that. And one of the best parts I was subtle was seeing Maki view Toji. She doesn't know who it is. Nobito knows who it is, but he just refers to him as a ghost. Maki seeing Toji use the playful cloud and what his potential was and what it is. She sees how strong Toji is, and when she sneaked to herself, like, I've never seen, the playful cloud used like that. So that gives us even more foreshadowing to what Maki could be. She could be the female Toji of her generation. So big fight. And this was one of those unexpected fights that we didn't think it was gonna be that good, but ended up being so. This was the top 4 fight for me. Great moments, great character development, great progression. Showing off Dagon, his ability, more Toji, great fight, great thing all around. For the number 3 spot, I have Sukuna versus Jogo. Now, if you want to talk about a character having a pure presence in the story, no one comes close to Sukuna. Now, similar to Gojo versus Jogo, this fight was a bit more of a showcase, because Sukuna, when he arrives in Shibuya, he becomes the focal point until he goes back to Yuji's body. But while he was out, it was nothing but straight carnage. We see ruthless Sukuna, how ruthless Sukuna is by killing the little girl Geto followers, and how quick he was to correct Jogo by slicing the top of his head off simply because he didn't bow into him low enough. Sukuna offers Jogo a wager of simply, if you can hit me, I'll help you and your crew with killing all humans. And from there on out, Sukuna is just toying with Jogo, literally laughing and smiling, enjoying himself as he and Jogo just destroy buildings all throughout Shibuya. And one of the reasons why I love this fight is the artwork and the paneling, specifically because of the panel of Jogo creating that fireball the size of a meteor, which him and Sukuna were standing on top of, with a destroyed building in the background was just amazing. I love that shot. I think it's one of the best panels in the whole manga. As well, with the split spread of Sukuna setting up his fire arrow while Jogo is preparing another fireball was beautiful to see. And to cap it off, Sukuna giving Jogo the highest of praise for a curse by stating, "You aren't bad compared to the old battles I've had in the past, and that you should stand proud because you are indeed strong." Means a lot to even a cursed Jogo, who was even moved to tears as he was burned to ashes. This fight was a great example of showing how to make a one-sided battle not only entertaining, but mean a lot to both characters, which is why I have this in my top 3 current. The Star Plasma Vessel arc / Hidden Inventory arc, whichever one you want to call it, was a great arc and gave us a nice flashback on Gojo, Geto, and the other older sorcerers. But if there was one man that had a majority of people will say is the star of this arc, it was the GOAT himself, Toji Fujigoto, in Toji versus Gojo. This fight essentially goes from one surprise to another. Right at the beginning, when Toji sneaks up on Gojo, right when Gojo deactivates his infinity and stabs him in the back, because this arc is before Gojo learned how to keep the infinity active 24/7. And during their first encounter, Gojo is weakened due to the overuse of the 6 eyes. But other than the innate details, their first 2 encounters are an absolute spectacle between two superhuman sorcerers. The strongest sorcerer versus the strongest non-sorcerer. Seeing how cerebral Toji is in terms of movement and how he fights Gojo and later on Geto with his cursed tools was dope to see and give us a true scale on how good the heavenly restrictions actually are. Two sides of Gojo. One we never seen before, which is Gojo in a vulnerable state where he even looked like he had a slight bit of fear in him. And the second side, which is of course his confidence, but confidence to a point where he looks very menacing and downright crazy. And of course, the repercussions behind this battle, which leads to the connection between Gojo and Megami, is brilliant. And Gege gave us a fight that will stand the test of time, and one that when it is animated in season 2, no one will ever forget. I have this fight number 1, but I'm gonna be honest, this feels more like a 1A, and Toji versus Gojo being a 1B for me. But Yuji versus Choso is a fight that literally has no flaws. The personal stakes for Choso having to avenge his fallen brothers Esa and Kachizu via Yuji and Nobara killing them was already in play from the start of Shibuya. It was always something I was looking forward to, and when they finally met, it was nothing but greatness from there. Seeing Choso's strength and abilities in this fight, as well as the development of Yuji as a fighter, was fun to read, as well as the escalation of the layout of the fight from the Metro Tokyo station hallway to a bathroom with water pouring out. It was absolutely dope and brilliant to see. Also a nice little component of having Mechamaru coach Yuji in terms of blood manipulation and giving him notes and details on what it does, as well as disrespecting Choso by slandering his brothers who are already dead. So clearly Choso was already aggravated and pretty pissed off when Mechamaru was saying these things. This fight had amazing choreography, and then the results of what happens after this fight is absolutely unbelievable. The great martial arts techniques that Gege throws in for this fight, as well as the designs that he chose for the blood and Choso's moves. Yuji, how he kind of goes against Choso, his confidence was pretty high compared to how he used to be, where he always had confidence and he was kind of just going with the flow. But with this one, it really felt like he knew what he was doing. So I really like to see that. And that's why I have this fight number 1. So that was my top 5 list. If you are interested in leaving your own top 5, leave it in the comments. But yeah, all the fights are dope, especially in the manga. I love the art, the choreography, the martial arts aesthetic, the giant scale fights like the Gojo versus Toji fight. But yeah, other than that, I will be making a anime only fight video soon, so look out for that. Other than that, hit me with a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll holler at y'all in the next one.